Good morning, everyone. My name is Dina Amin. I'm 17 years old, a senior year student in Dubai National School, Al Quwar. Today, I'll be explaining the concept of matrices for my mathematical studies course. The four main objectives I'll be going through are introduction of matrices, general rules of matrices, matrix addition and subtraction, and lastly, matrix multiplication. We'll start off by formally defining what a matrix is and introduce some basic terms. A matrix is basically a rectangular array or table of numbers, symbols, or expressions arranged in rows and columns, which is used to represent a mathematical object or properties of such an object. The properties of a matrix are a specified number of rows and a specified number of columns, and two numbers, which are the rows and columns, which describe the dimension or size of the matrix. So this is the dimension of this matrix. Now here, how did we determine the dimension of each matrix? We just counted. We have two rows. So we wrote down two rows and three columns, 1, 2, 3. Therefore, the dimension of our matrix is 2 times 3. We did the same here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 rows times 2, 4 times 2, which gives us a 4 times 2 dimension. So each one of those are called entries. The entries of A are 2, 0, 1, 33, minus 22, and 0. And the entries of B are 2, 3, 10, 44, minus 1, 3, 8, 3. So each single number is an entry. Moving on to the types of matrices, a matrix with a single column is called column matrix or vector. The matrix with a single row is called a row matrix. The matrix that has the same number of columns and rows is called a square matrix, as you can see here. And the matrix that consists of 0 entries, like all of their entries are zeros, is called a zero matrix. Starting off, matrix addition and subtraction. The first matrix operation we'll discuss are matrix addition and subtraction. The rules for these operations are actually very simple. The first rule is that two matrices can be added or subtracted only if they have the same dimensions. And the second rule is that to add or subtract two matrices of the same dimension, we add or subtract the corresponding entries. What do you mean by corresponding entries? Here, we can visualize it. It's much clearer. So we added the first entry with the second matrix's first corresponding entry, and we added the second entry with the second corresponding entry, which gave us the final answer. So as we can see here, we did the same thing, and by the way, you can do all of this operation using your calculator, but I'm just showing you how to do it manually. So 2 plus 9 minus 3 plus minus 5, and so on. With this, it's the same. So basically just corresponding entries added, corresponding entries subtracted. Moving on to matrix multiplication. The length of the row in A must match the length of the column in B. What does that mean? It means that the rows on the left should be equal to the columns on the right. So here, as we can see, the rows on the left match the columns on the right. So simply, or in other words, the number of columns in the left-hand matrix equals the number of rows in the right-hand matrix, amounts to saying that the middle two numbers must match as above. So here, as we can see, we just found the product of the first entries, 2 by 2, which is 4. And then we found the product of the second entries, 4 times 10, which is equal to 40, and so on. And then lastly, we sum up all of the products. So here, we're gonna try to solve an example. So first, we made sure that we have the dimensions that can go together. So as we can see here, it shows us that the dimensions match. Therefore, we continue. And here we just went through the procedure we just mentioned, which is the product of the first entries, the product of second entries, and so on, which gave us this final answer. And that was it for my lesson. I hope you've learned a lot. Thank you for listening.